So just in case you haven't noticed by now, it's official. Vampires are cool again. And not just for weirdos like myself. I think it's safe to say they've reached the mainstream and the styles are here to stay. From the resurgence of Twilight to the recent release of films like Nosferatu, I think a lot of us are going vampire crazy right now, including myself. And as a Scorpio moon, I always appreciate a little vampiric touch to a beauty look or an outfit. So needless to say, today we are going to be talking about how to make your style more vampiric. If you're new to the channel, this is part of an ongoing series that I have, so I will link some previous videos in the description below if you're interested in checking those out after this one. But without further ado, let's get into it. The first and simplest way to make your style more vampiric is through color. Black is an obvious one, and also red, but you can also incorporate quite a lot of white for a more ghostly, haunted sort of vampire look. I feel like a wide variety of colors can work within this style, ranging from jewel tones all the way to muted pinks. But all in all, an outfit is going to look quite vampiric if you are in head to toe black, head to toe red. I think leaning into a monochrome sort of style is really good for this aesthetic, as it creates a really strong sense of drama. So as I said, you can really adapt this to any color palette you want to work within, but black, red, white, deep, rich jewel tones, those are going to be the easiest ways to accomplish this aesthetic in this look. You know, super, super rich reds are a great color to incorporate. Think blood red. And all around, you want to pull from a color palette that just feels dramatic and moody. There's obviously a lot of ways you could approach this. These videos, as always, are just meant to be a jumping off point to get your own creativity going. But black, red, white, any sort of ensembles with that combination of colors is immediately going to scream vampire. The next way that you can make your style more vampiric is through silhouette and layering. I think what flavor of vampire you are depends on you and your tastes and interests. I definitely lean in a more gothic, dramatic, Victorian kind of vampire look. So I think things like classic, antique sort of silhouettes match this aesthetic perfectly. Things with big skirts and heavy draping, corsets, things that are really tightened at the waist. Think of accessories layered on top of long lace blouses like leather gloves. And once again, I think one of the true pillars of a vampire style is drama. So when it comes to layering and silhouette, you really want to have drama in mind. If your style leans more masculine, you can incorporate suits and pieces like that, billowy tops, things that have big ruffles and bows on the neck. You can layer things like that with vests and jackets, blazers, corsets, as I mentioned. Harnesses are also a great accessory. I think things that have a very high dramatic neckline feel quite vampiric. As I said, I think of ruffles and really extravagant details like that. And while there is a sense of drama to this look, like, you know, big dramatic skirts, I do think a lot of vampire styles do focus on what fits the body. So things that are tailored to your figure, you know, things that suit your own personal proportions. But layering with some waist definition is a really good place to start. The next way to make your style more vampiric is through texture. We already started dipping into that a little bit, but ruffles, lace, ribbons, intricate beading. Think of textures like tulle and velvet, mesh, fishnets. Even incorporating hardware can add a lot to your look. Things that feel sharp and dangerous, things that feel luxurious and extravagant. I think of fur coats, you know, silhouettes that fall all the way down to the floor. There's a lot of ways to approach this and mix and match within your own personal style, but I think like a sexy 90s vampire is also sort of a fun muse to play around with for this concept. Think of like leather halter tops and matching pants, dramatic gloves, as I mentioned. You can take things in a more romantic direction. You can take things in a darker, edgier direction. Personally, I like a little bit of blend of both, but all around, those rich, detailed textures are really going to add a lot to your outfits and bring it into that fancy, stylish, bougie kind of direction that a lot of vampires are styled in. I think it's probably because vampires have had time to like actually accumulate wealth. So they tend to look expensive in the movies in which they're portrayed. You know, whether you're pulling inspiration from Twilight or Nosferatu, there's always a sense of luxury, I feel, with a vampire aesthetic. The next way to make your style more vampiric is through your hair and makeup. As you can see, I did quite a vampy look today. We've already talked about colors, but red and black obviously are great colors to incorporate into your hair and makeup. And as I also briefly touched on, you can take your vampire look into a more ghostly type of direction with pale blonde hair and, you know, maybe bleached eyebrows. But for me, the first thing I always think of when it comes to vampires is a dark, sultry lip. So dark berry colors, again, deep red, blood red sorts of shades. I think glitter and shine is also important. Having little little sparkly touches, again sort of incorporating that glamorous, luxurious feeling both into the hair and makeup. When it comes to vampire hair, I think you can do just about anything. I think really long, blonde, straight styles look very vampiric, but you can also do short, fun, choppy, layered sorts of styles. Hair colors like red and black really work. Very pale blonde shades. I think a really blunt, edgy bang works as well. Think like Betty bangs, that sort of thing. But you can also play around and do updos, add braids, those sorts of things. All around, I think your hair and makeup should feel glamorous, sophisticated, put together, a little bit sexy, but also dark and romantic, a little intimidating, a little bit edgy. It's when you put all of these pieces together that then the look starts to come together. But you can really keep it as simple as minimal makeup and just a dark red lip. Wearing that paired with the right outfit is instantly going to send the message of vampire. The next way to make your style more vampiric is through accessories. Accessories, I feel, are super important for this aesthetic. And I briefly mentioned hardware, but that would be a really easy place to start. I'm wearing a safety pin necklace that I made right now. So there's lots of easy DIY elements you can incorporate like that. Metal, hardware, even chainmail I think would work really excellently. I think of like Victorian purses too that are also made with a similar material. I think bonnets and headwear work, and I did touch on harnesses as well briefly. But any little extra element you can add on for a sense of texture and drama, it's a little bit more visual interest. I think those sort of medieval Renaissance-y headpieces where they're like beaded and connect, those types of things and accessories really work for this look. We talked about gloves, lace gloves, velvet, leather, bracelets, rings. You can incorporate garter belts and thigh highs, those sorts of things. I saw a piece years ago, this pearl necklace that had like blood beading dripping down it, and I thought that was so cool and pretty. But accessories like that, obviously, very vampiric. You can add collars, again, get crafty with it, even cutting up just a bunch of lace and tying that around your neck, that can work. I think things that have religious iconography attached to them also really work within this style. I personally am not like super comfortable wearing crosses. I just personally don't want to like appropriate certain religions, but if that is a part of your life, or if you just enjoy the jewelry, that is something that you can add. Rosaries, crosses. I think pearls and more delicate jewelry can actually work here too, and definitely edgy accessories like chokers. Again, keeping the previous suggestions in mind, incorporating things like texture into your accessories, but all around adding like a big dramatic statement necklace, even just throwing on a little pair of gloves. These are little things you can do to help elevate the overall look. The next way to make your style more vampiric is through footwear. I think the edgier you can get, the better. Again, items that feel sharp and dangerous I think are cool to incorporate. So a really sharp pair of stilettos, even shoes that incorporate that kind of imagery like knives and swords, and obviously boots. I feel like boots would be the easiest kind of footwear to incorporate, and there's all sorts of styles out there available, but particularly ones that lace all the way up, ones that are covered in buckles and clasps. You can go with a pointed toe or a chunkier sole. You know, not everything has to be sharp. A thicker, chunky block heel works as well. And also wedges. Maybe I'm crazy, but I would like to see wedges make a comeback. And again, keeping color and texture in mind. Even if the shoe itself is more minimal, you can incorporate a really fun sock to go with it. There's little fishnet ones you can get, those sorts of things. But all around shoes that look like they're really difficult to get into. Lots of lace, lots of buttons, lots of buckles and hardware. But if you're looking for a more, casual, comfy option, something even as simple as like a pair of Doc Martens can work. My next tip to make your style more vampiric is to reference a specific historical period. As I said, I love like a Victorian, Gothic, romantic kind of feeling when it comes to a vampire look. So Nosferatu, you can pull inspiration from films like Sleepy Hollow, Dracula, Crimson Peak. But I think of those more dramatic, classic silhouettes with big sleeves, skirts that are high-waisted, that drop all the way down to the floor, things that feel like they could be antique or a part of the costume design for a cool movie or show. As I mentioned, I think the 90s is kind of a fun era to pull from for this aesthetic. So if more like historical, older types of looks are not your thing, you can really like apply this to anything. I've even seen like 1970s inspo for vampire looks, but there's something so timeless, I feel like, about the Victorian aesthetic. The shapes and silhouettes and collars and sleeves, just all those details I think are timeless. They age beautifully, and I think a lot of those styles are quite versatile as well. I think it would even be fun to pull from like the 1920s, like a flapper style vampire. So yeah, get creative, pick your favorite eras and decades, combine them if you want to. Just find a specific era of fashion, whatever speaks to you, and pull inspo from that. Now my last suggestion for how to make your style more vampiric is to find artistic inspiration. So sort of similar to what we just discussed, but but this time get way more creative, way more out of the box. Again, reference movies, reference literature, your favorite books. Video games are a great place to pull inspo from. Think Lady Dimitrescu and all her daughters. You can even write your own sort of vampire character, give them a backstory, interesting lore, and then proceed to build outfits based around that. You can obviously take it in a more cartoony sort of vampire direction or a more serious, sultry kind of direction. You could go ghostly, literary. You can go really glam and sassy and fun. You can incorporate a sense of adventure into it. You can also pull from different music subcultures. I feel like goth and punk are great places to source some inspiration from, but all around I think it would help to create sort of a character or a muse that you can build outfits and inspiration from. So that kind of ties in with my previous point. Yeah, just get creative. Fashion is play at the end of the day. So whatever speaks to you, go with that. So that is all I have for you today. I would love for you to comment your own tips and suggestions in the comments below. And as always, I'm open to your suggestions for what kind of content and videos you would like to see moving forward. More videos linked in the description. Liking, commenting, sharing, all that stuff really helps out the channel, and I greatly appreciate you spending your time on my videos today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!